discuss some other news. Big news this week. The PFF 50 has been revealed, or at least it's starting to be. It's being revealed. What have we dropped as of recording time? At least 41 through 30? We down to 30 already?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the top, the first 20 have been revealed. I think the first name of note that we have to discuss is Saquon Barkley, sitting there at number 43. As much as we hammer the fact that running backs and running back value is overrated and easily replaceable, Saquon Barkley is a very good player at the running back position, one of the best running backs in the NFL already, probably heading into year 2, and he'll end up essentially being the number 2 running back on this entire list. But again, it's because our criteria is regardless of position, not based off of value, replaceable value, or anything like that. So Barkley coming in at 43 after a very good rookie season.
Yeah, people are going to look at this and say, well, PFF's hypocritical. How can you say running backs don't matter and rank Saquon Barkley in the top 50 players? And it's because there's a difference between value and, production and quality and just how good a guy is. I've always said that if there's a position that deserves to be paid, it's running backs. Those guys have a horrible job. Almost every single play is going to result in them getting hit in the kind of impacts that we're talking about with quarterbacks getting broken. Cam Newton is getting consistently injured because he's taking running back kind of hits. What about the poor running backs that are taking those hits almost every single play? So if there's a position that deserves to be paid, it's running backs. It's just sadly, when you start looking at all the information, they don't deserve to be.
They actually don't deserve to be.
They're not the ones that are generating the production. It's the offensive line. It's the box count. It's all those things we talked about. So unfortunately for running backs, it just looks like those are the guys that don't deserve to be getting paid because they're replaceable. But if you get past the value aspect and just look at how good a guy is, Saquon Barkley was rightly talked about as being one of the best prospects we've seen in years. He is a perfect modern-day running back in that he's probably a better receiver than he is a runner, which in a league that passes as much as the league does right now is hugely important. We saw immediately the impact he can have year one. He broke more tackles than any other running back, had led the league in terms of forced missed tackles, both when you combine carries and receptions out of the backfield. He led the league in breakaway percentage, so all those big plays we saw at Penn State where he makes the guy miss the line and then he's gone 50 yards for a touchdown. We saw those again with the Giants. He's basically the same guy that we saw at Penn State. So he is a phenomenal running back. It's just that when you look at wins and losses for the Giants, that doesn't matter.
You're right. And well, not to take away from Barkley and his big playability, it is difficult to sustain those big runs. 50-plus yard runs are really difficult to sustain year over year. And he is the type of runner that relies on them because he's not as great at just, finding 4 and finding 5 consistently. He is a little dependent on those big plays. So we'll see if that production actually can be maintained there, but they've improved the offensive line a little bit over the last couple of years. So Barkley, still a very good player, but we've always discussed the value of him versus the next guy. He'll be the number 2 running back on the list. Alvin Kamara, the top running back on the list, comes in at number 30. Where is he? 36.
And that probably deserves a little bit of comment because there aren't going to be too many places that I think list Alvin Kamara as the best running back in the NFL.
Yeah, that's a good point. Zeke Elliott's going to be not on the list. Too many fumbles from him, and as good as he's really solid all around. But Kamara and even Barkley special as receivers in the parts that do matter a little bit more. Kamara has been the number 2 graded receiver and then the number 3 graded receiver his first 2 years in the NFL. And then again the whole running back deal. They're dependent on their situation, so Kamara deserves. He gets credited a little bit by being in the Sean Payton system that uses his skill set properly, moving him all around the formation.
Yeah, here's the thing with Kamara. If you take out overall workload, then he is, I think, clearly the best running back in the NFL right now. What everybody will look like, or what everybody will look at and say, well, where's his 20 touchdown season? Where's the 1,500 yards? Where's the 2,000 yards from scrimmage that Saquon Barkley had? And Kamara's not going to have those because he hasn't been an every down back for the Saints, right? But that has become, the league isn't like that much anymore. There aren't that many every down bell cow running backs. There were a couple more last year than there have been in the past few seasons, but a couple of years ago there was like one. So the league has gone away from this idea of every down bell cow running backs, and teams are essentially platooning the backfield with a whole bunch of guys. So the fact that Alvin Kamara hasn't been an every down back so far, and he may be this year with Mark Ingram now out of the picture, you shouldn't take away from Kamara because he hasn't been given the opportunity to do more. But in everything, when he has been on the field, he's been absolutely ridiculous. Like, he catches passes out of the backfield, makes people miss left, right, and center. He has absurd numbers in terms of, rate numbers, whether it's yards per route run, whether it's yards after the catch, all those kinds of things. So if you look at it at a per play basis, Kamara has been absolutely incredible. I think he has a season that's the highest PFF WAR we've ever seen from a running back because of the value he brings as a passing game. So if you just strip away the kind of total, the workload specific numbers, Kamara would easily be the best running back in the NFL. And then the bottom line is we're not penalizing him because somebody else makes a decision that he's not being given those carries yet.
Well, so that's the biggest thing. When you look at Todd Gurley having however many 17 or whatever touchdowns he had last year, we've hammered this home before, but a lot of that is simply the opportunity to carry the ball inside the 5. It is very much opportunity driven. So it's always, I think this is why we have to hammer it home over and over again. It's difficult to wrap your head around. Touchdowns aren't bad, but they're dependent on other things. So even say the Patriots in the playoffs, they had a ton of rushing touchdowns, but there's a ton of plays where there was a pass that got them inside the 5, and then they ran it.
So did their running game suddenly step up and become phenomenal in the playoffs, or did they simply give those guys the opportunity inside the 5 in the playoffs?
Right, and there was a lot of that last year with New England. So deep pass, gets you inside the 5, you run it in for the touchdown. That was a consistent theme with New England. It was a consistent theme with the Rams. The passing game gets you to the 5. And, Gurley was still pretty good last year. The running game was good, but he had so many more carries inside the 5, so he had a whole lot more touchdowns. So it's easy to see a big touchdown number and get really excited about it and think, this guy's great, when we look at it and say, okay, there's probably these other things around that situation that are making that happen.